Abyssal Dead Spaces and the Minmatar Republic's Thrasher. Stop me if this sounds at all familiar. And it should do, because I did a video on literally these topics last week. I showcased a Minmatar Republic Thrasher that could run Abyssal Dead Spaces in under 3 minutes, kind of speedrunning the Dead Spaces, if you will. Now, one of the pieces of feedback I got on this was that's a really cool fit, but it's not really realistic for someone who's just started playing the game. Can the Thrasher still be used, or do I really need to get all of these skills up to the point that I can use that fit? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you that no, absolutely, the Thrasher is still an excellent beginner's starter destroyer for Abyssal Dead Spaces. And in order to do this, I'm going to take this through a couple of different types of Dead Space and show you a very basic fit that is very easy to get into literally on your first day or so of playing. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie, and if you do find this video useful, please spend that extra second just to hit the like button. If you do want to go the extra mile to support this channel, I'll explain how at the end of the video, so stick around. Otherwise, let's jump right in. Now, whilst I'm obviously not going to waste a load of this video talking about every single skill that this particular character has, because this is a different character to the one that I was using in the previous Thrasher video, I just want to showcase the kind of level that we're talking about here. Now, this ult is primarily skilled into Minmatar cruisers and battle cruisers. I'm aiming to fly the Hurricane and the Loki. This means things like small projectile turret are actually only sitting at 3, although admittedly the back end gunnery skills are pretty high. Gunnery 5 with 4 in most of the others like motion prediction, sharpshooter, etc. If I were to go into Spaceship Command, you'll see that Minmatar Battle Cruiser is at 4, Cruiser is at 5, but Destroyer is only sitting at 3, and this is kind of still the case across here. When we go into Shields, most things are at like 3 or 4 across the board. I'm skilling in a very particular direction to get myself into a ship quickly, and I just wanted to be running some Dead Spaces on the side to make some ISK. So my skills are pretty basic, and the fit is also very, very basic, so let's take a look at that next. If we go into actually having a look at this, we have 280mm prototype siege cannons. These are pretty hefty beasts. They do a decent amount of damage. You can see that this is kind of mirroring the fit that we were looking at before in the previous video, but it's obviously on a much lower level. There's no level 2 stuff here, no Tech 2 stuff, and it is, as far as I'm aware, all alpha friendly. So we've got those 280mm prototype siege cannons, currently fitted with Phase Plasma S, because I was running a couple of Firestorms with this. I normally run Gammas with it using Fusion S, obviously there, but this is just, sort of a starting point there. For the mid-slots, a small C5L compact shield booster, a compact multi-spectrum shield hardener, and a 5 meganewton quad lithium fluoride restrained micro-warp drive. Interesting brief aside here, by the way. Lithium fluoride, I sat there looking at this going, why on earth is this using lithium fluoride? Then I realised, of course, it's used in nuclear reactors, isn't it? And I thought that's a really cool little bit of real-world science thrown into EVE in a really minor, subtle way. For the low slots, I've gone for a Fourier compact tracking enhancer and a counterbalanced compact gyro stabilizer. Now, the reason I've gone for the tracking enhancer this time rather than twin gyros is simply because this character doesn't have the same skills as we saw before. We've got a little bit lower on some of the tracking skills and things, so having something that can prop that up for some of those faster moving targets in Abyssal Dead Spaces, worthwhile. It's worth noting that because of this character's skills as well, I have had to use a small ancillary current router in order to get that last little bit of power grid just to cram everything in, and you can see we're still sitting at 99.78%. That is an absolute necessity, and ultimately, yeah, that kind of showcases how low level the skills on this character are. Otherwise, a small capacitor control circuit and a small projectile burst aerator, although this really I should probably change to a collision accelerator. I just wanted to keep it cheap and I had a burst aerator lying around. Now, this gives us an alpha of about 1,400 HP with a DPS of about 195 HP, so nothing overly special. Nice and straightforward, very basic, very low defenses as well. You do actually need to be quite careful when you pilot this. It's completely viable, as you'll see in just a moment, but you need to be aware. This is not like the other one where you can just kind of walk in, lock onto everything, blap it, and then move to the next room super quickly. This this is going to kind of push you to learn a bit more about manual piloting. It's going to help you learn a bit more about actually how Abyssal dead spaces work. It's 10.2 million ISK estimated. You can obviously do that even cheaper if you're not using sort of the mid-range stuff here, like the Fourier compact, and you're just using, say, a tracking enhancer 1, it'll be even cheaper. But for what it does, this will make its money back very, very quickly. Run a few dead spaces with this, and 10 million is not difficult to make back at all in this kind of ship. But anyway, let's actually showcase this in action. We're going to run a couple of Firestorms in this. Now, Firestorms are actually one I don't normally recommend because of the bonuses and buffs that they apply to the enemy ships. They can be quite tricky, and they are arguably one of the least popular Abyssals to run, but that also means they're ridiculously cheap, and if you've got a ship that can do it, well, you can buy the filaments cheap and make more profit. So anyway, we've come in, I've got the micro warp drive active, and the first thing I do is go straight after that biocompetitive cache again. I want to blap that nice and quickly, try and grab the loot, and then keep moving. It gives me something I've just grabbed, and then I can focus on the manual piloting once we have the loot. This isn't always a good idea, as you might see in a moment, but with that done, we can now start shooting at those Thrashers. They're both Ember Needles, so there's no target priority we need to worry about here. Click, 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 click for the loot as we go past. Boom, got it. And I can now start to drift towards the transfer conduit. We now go after that next Ember Needle Thrasher. You are going to need a little bit of manual piloting sometimes if a ship starts really getting behind you. And you can see I'm running the shield booster a little bit from time to time here as well, just to try and get back up, because those did some real damage to me about halfway through my shields. So you do need to pause occasionally. Now we come into the next room. We've got an Ephialtes Lancer, nice, the cruiser, and again we go for the cache first. All I've got running at the moment is the micro warp drive, and you'll see that, well, yeah, that's going to be quite a bit of like speed there, especially since I'm going to attack you on cloud at the moment, which obviously increases your velocity whilst reducing your agility. Increasing your agility, sorry. Cool, there goes the biocompetitive cache. We can now loot that, and you can see how much damage this Lancer is doing to me, but it's quite okay. You'll also notice I don't really run the shield hardener in this. It's kind of one of those things that I switch it on when I really need to, like this, because I've taken a lot of damage to my shields. Click, 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 grab the loot, move towards the transfer conduit. Turn the micro warp drive off, and I'm just going to have to be careful managing the shields and the multi-spectrum shield hardener. I am going to run out of capacitor. I know I'm going to run out of capacitor, but the aim is to try and keep myself in my shields for as long as possible whilst I finish off the target. In this case, you can see the Lancer is about to go down, and it should do just before my shields go down. Perfect. I still haven't taken any damage, or any meaningful damage, through to my armor. I may have taken like 1 HP or something from it, but there we go. We're going to warp through into room number 3. Nice and quick, still nice and easy. Reload everything. Move towards the biocompetitive cache again. It's a fair way out. We've got 2 blast needle Thrashers this time. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. We're still using the micro warp drive to close that distance quickly. I want to hit the biocompetitive first. Loot the cache. Get that loot out of there. And focus on taking those Thrashers down next, because they do a bit of damage. And you'll see that with the micro warp drive and the shield booster active, yeah, we lose our capacitor very, very quickly. I should have turned the micro warp drive off and then put the hardener and the shield booster on at the same time. That's the aim of this, basically, that you swap between those 2 different modes, I guess, whether you're in propulsion mode and using the micro warp drive, or whether you're in shield mode using the hardener and the booster. It's worth noting that it is the booster that is worst for this FITS capacitor, so be very sparing with that. Basically, the main aim is micro warp drive when you're moving towards something, multi-spectrum shield hardener if you're not moving towards something or want to be a little bit slower on your way there, if that makes sense. You know, you want to drift slowly so that you can actually finish off your target before shooting the cache. Then you swap to the multi-spectrum shield hardener when the micro warp drive is not active, and then put the booster on for a few reps here and there when you need it. So here we are now back in space. That's our first run done. Nice and easy, no damage to the armor. We're gonna just boost the shields up a little bit while we're sitting here, stack everything in the hold, make sure we've got everything we need to, and start to prepare for the next run. Firestorm number 2 then. Let's give this one a go and see what happens. First room, we're now at decently high capacitor and shield boosted up to full. Cool, so again, we've got Spike Needle to sellers. Let's go straight for that biocombinative cache, and then take the Strike Needles out en route. Strike Needle and a Spark Needle. Nothing overly crazy. Target them both, blow up the cache before we get there. I did talk about this a bit in the other video as well, that essentially you blow up the cache so that you can then just drift towards the cargo nice and easily. You don't have to worry about bouncing off the cache and then waiting to kill stuff before looting cargo. Just makes it nice and fast, as long as you're a little bit careful. But there we are, Strike Needle to seller goes down, Spark Needle to seller still up. Let's move towards the activating gate. Well, we're going to activate the gate. I've turned the micro warp drive off because I want slower speeds for lower angular velocity to hit that Spark Needle to seller, and because I don't want to hit the transfer conduit and bounce off it whilst the to seller is still up. Kind of, defeats the purpose, right? Rush to the gate only to have to wait when you get there. Hurry up and wait. Anyway, into room number 2. Let's see what we have. We have a Lucid Escort this time. Okay. Cool. After the biocombinative cache, let's lock that and hopefully blap it in one hit. Nice. And then, yeah, should have been locking the Escort before them. Okay. These can be kind of nasty. I'm not too worried, though. Let's loot this. Once we are looted, move towards the gate, turn the micro warp drive off with F4, put the shield booster and the multi-spectrum shield hardener on to reduce the damage that we're taking, whilst shooting at this Lucid Escort. Where is it? There it is. Cool, I'm going to shoot at that. And again, by the fact that we're going slower and the fact that it's running alongside us, low traversal, nice and easy to hit. Bonus skill points from the Skeletons in the Abyss. Nice. On to room number 3. And let's see what we have here. After the biocombinative, oh boy, we have a Pacifier. This one can be nasty. This is really one of the nasty little things here, because essentially the Pacifier does a lot of damage, and we don't have much in the way of like heavy tank for this. We are primarily basically kill tanking. We're surviving by killing other things, and oof, there go my shields in seconds. Cool, so we are going to keep the micro warp drive on for one more cycle just to get closer. Shield booster and multi-spectrum shield hardener. And yeah, we're out of capacitor now. That's, oof. But it hasn't hit us again since then, so we can activate loot the biocombinative cache, and then drift towards the conduit, and hopefully, there we are. Down it goes, nice and easy, because we've got a nice little angle on it toward the end there. That slow down, speed up in a different direction, changed our angular velocity, our traversal. Suddenly, that Pacifier becomes easier to hit. There we go. Nice and proof and easy. That's a very nasty spawn for this, and that has put us into armor. I would head back to station now and repair that. Eats into our profits a little bit, but again, if you're doing Abyssal Dead Spaces for the Air Career Agent, or just for a little bit of ISK on the side, just to learn Abyssal Dead Spaces, any reason like that, this fit is a great way to keep it going and give it a try. Anyway, folks, that's all for today's video. If you do want to support content like this, you can head across to my Patreon and pledge to support there. You can head across to my Redbubble merchandise store and grab yourself some swag, and I do have a PayPal tip jar as well. Otherwise, hit like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already for more content like this. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!